Welcome, 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 everyone. Welcome to Chat with Nessa, phenomenal woman. Look, from Hawaii, she is part of our Bee Process and Trade team, but she's here because she's a phenomenal woman, Miss Lanita Preston, Mrs. Lanita Preston, excuse me. Welcome to Chat with Nessa.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me here. This is so awesome. Of course, I love talking to you, power women, right?
Yes, and I want to tell people a lot. This woman is phenomenal. You'd be surprised this woman's accomplishments. Look, she's a mother of four, an engineer, leader of the Hawaii Strong Trade Team, career reimagination coach, educational achievement coach for homeschoolers and after schoolers. She is also an accomplished author, a publisher, and she gets what young adult fiction, but she also helps other people publish themselves. Like I said, she's a publisher. Phenomenal. She's also writes for several small business publications focusing on women in business while parenting. So, I mean, I bet you a lot of people in the trade family that we're from did not know all these fabulous accomplishments that you've done in your life. So, welcome.
Welcome. And that's just a
Look,
little bit of them.
I know I can only whisper so
That's
much. We got some
ADD
time.
with control. You know your
Look,
powers.
hey, this is a woman. I call her Superwoman. So, and also born on my birthday, May 19th. We have a birthday coming up in a couple months. Yes, girlfriend. Okay, now I want to start because we have a lot of your accomplishments we want to share with everyone. There were so many accomplishments, things that I didn't even know till 2 weeks ago, okay? Very humble. I didn't even know half these things, but you have so many hats. Mom, engineer, business owner, author, publisher, coach, speaker, trainer. What is the driving force behind all of what you do? Is my first question.
I can honestly say I appreciate the time I have here on earth. And I believe, I always felt as though God put me here for a purpose, and He just gives me all these wonderful ideas. And I just approach life in a perspective from I need to try it because I only have a short time here. And I think the part that just touched me as most was when I was watching Hamilton with my daughter who loved Hamilton. And there's a song that they sing, and they're like, why does he write like he's running out of time? And I truly feel that way in my life. Like, you know, God has so many things He wants me to do that, for me not to experience it, for me not to, impact people around me to do the same thing and seek to experience those things is an opportunity lost. So that's what is the driving force behind that, is that I appreciate the time I have here on earth. I want to work towards, not just, blessing others, but also being blessed through the experience of trying something new and seeing if I can conquer it.
Wow. Now, I know this. You're very accomplished in education. I can say that. You have a master's in information systems, a BS in business, finance, and economics, as well as a former college professor. Okay. Background in real estate and property investment. What led you to all these many business ventures that you have? You have so many.
Honestly, it's because I wasn't getting the growth in my career that I sought. I'd done the traditional career. I even worked for huge companies, Price Waterhouse, um, Lockheed Martin. As an engineer, I've done some really, really cool things. But as a woman, and also as an ethnic woman and an older one that is, um, I had to really do the work, but I never really got a lot of the credit, and I never saw that I always had that glass ceiling situation where I could get to a certain place, but because I was just, I wasn't going to be submissive. That's just never the way I was, created. I always said, well, okay, well, I can't get it here. So I'll take the money that I get from work and I'll fund all the other things where no one can hinder my growth or my ability or my imagination but me. And so everything that I ever wanted to try or do, I did it utilizing the job as just a funding source. and not looking towards my job as the, where I would get my self gratification from. The self gratification came from how I can personally impact someone's life, how I can personally, pursue the things that I'm curious about. And no one could tell me no. I was creating my own yes from so many no's.
Oh, very, very powerful. So you're really a person of service. A person of service, and you care about other people. So that's what I really read a lot about your bio and what you do. You really train people, you coach people, you mentor so many people, and you impact people. So that's very powerful that you took the job resources. That's powerful what you said, and you funded your purpose and your dreams and the things that you want to do with your life. That's very, very powerful. I would like to say that's a powerful statement. Now, I was curious. Growing up, did you always write? And did you know that you were desired to be an author? Was that your goal early on growing up as a little girl?
Well, I'm gonna tell you, as a little girl, I used to have stories in my head that I would talk out, and I would act them out to myself because I played by myself a lot of times. So I had dolls until I was 14 years old. My father took them all because he said, "You're too old," but he didn't realize that that's where a lot of my stories came from. So then I talked to one of my teachers, said, "You should write your stories." Because I was really upset, that my father took away my dolls. So I started to write, and I wrote until I got to college. Short stories, poetry, songs. My father was a self-taught musician, so I didn't write again until I was in my 30s, and I happened to be at work as an engineer, and I actually worked um, where I did the back end designs for fighter jets. As an engineer, that was my job. And one of the managers was there, and he written a book, and I was so excited. I was like, "Wow, how do you find the time?" He said, "Well, I just write a page a day. You can do this. You can write a page a day." It was an older Caucasian man that really became a very good friend and a great motivator for me for writing. And whenever I would have a question, he would say, "You could do anything. I can see that in you." And that was just, you never realize how people can impact you or how you can impact someone's life, with just spending 10, 15 minutes a day at lunch with them. And that's what this man did. He really gave me a lot of encouragement. And so I told my husband about it. My husband's like, "You should absolutely do that." And I wrote my first novel in 3 months, and I thought it was totally normal to write it in that amount of time because I've been writing technical documentation, and that
Mhm.
was my deadline usually for any technical documentation. So I was like, "Okay, well, I'll write it in 3 months." And then it just took off from there. And I did some amazing things in the publishing community just because I didn't know any better. I started my own small press. I got a offer for a book deal with the publisher, and I was very upset with how much they paid me per book. It's like 11 cents. And that's what a lot of people make. In the industry, you make your money off of when you sell the oh gosh, now it's on top of my 10, the rights to your book for movies, shows, and things like that. Secondary rights, you get a lot more money doing that. But so I was crushed, and my husband said to me, "We have a real estate business. You're doing lending on the side, you're working a full-time job, you're a mom. We can totally publish our own stuff, and we own it." And I was like, "You know what?" And it was when it wasn't cool to do it. And it was
Wow.
before the ebook market. And so I found a printer that would take a small press. I joined an independent organization for small press, and I started my own press. And my husband and I promoted our books. We sold of that series. We sold over 25,000 copies in the first 2 years, which is a lot of people were saying in the industry, "Are you doing this? How are you doing this?" And I went to the book fair. It was a book expo BAE Books Expo in New York with my books. I got to meet so many famous authors there, and I had a table and my own setup. And I was telling my husband, "What if we got to take all these books back home?" I had a line around my table, and I was like, "But God." You know,
Yes.
everything people tell me I couldn't do, God was putting me in front of people that was telling me, do it, and you can do it. And then I was surpassing even my own dreams. Um, and the reason why my books were so popular was because they had ethnic faces on them. And everybody told me not to put ethnic faces on there. All my books are usually of mixed race children or kids that are, you know, that are white, that are dating someone black or someone black. And that has always been what I've grown up with living in DC, because it was a very intermixed, intermingle community. And I love that about DC when I grew up. So I write that in my book. My books are, very, about that underdog and discovering themselves, and from a fiction standpoint. And I only ever wanted to write fiction until someone told me I should write about how I homeschool my children and work a full-time job. They were like, "I don't know how you're doing
You're,
it."
you know what you're doing. You're getting. We're gonna get this a quick interview because you're getting all my answers.
I'm sorry. I'm just a talker.
No, 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 no. We have that in common. We both like to talk. But I have so. I want people to know. Okay, tell me the first year you published your first book. What was the year your first publisher? And you self-published from the beginning, correct?
Absolutely. And I
What was the
published,
year?
other authors. Um, I believe it was, oh goodness.
I
It's
know
been
that
so
wasn't
many
it.
years. How
I
many
know
years?
it's been a while.
It's
It's been a while
I
because you've
think
been
it's been
publishing
over
a long
10 years
time.
ago.
Wow, wow. And then what year did you start Phenomenal One Press? That's your own publishing company to help other writers find their voice. I know
It's
I want
been,
you to talk about your publishing company, how you help other writers. Phenomenal One Press. When did that start? I know you give other writers
yeah.
a voice. So talk about that. That excites me.
Yes.
I like that.
So I started Phenomenal One Press probably a year after my first book, self-publishing my first book. I was also a vice president of MBPA, I mean IBPA, for independent publishers. So I started helping other authors there, mentorship, as well as other small press mentorship with, business things, and took on a few authors. And the thing is, we found that a lot of authors wanted to self-publish their own work. They just didn't know how to do it. So I started doing one-on-one coaching with them. And, the coaching situation would be about basically figuring out why, what they wanted to do, what was their path. And so a lot of the authors I worked with personally wanted to, like they were starting their own coaching platform or starting their own, nonprofit platform. So they would go with, just using my coaching services to write the book and then discover which path was best for them. And unfortunately would find out that their dream of, okay, maybe I'll publish with a big publisher, meant that they were giving up a lot of the freedom that they had with, hey, if this is my coaching platform and I'm speaking and I want to take my book and my media to these events, I'm not able to just print these books out as, an author under a publisher without paying the publisher for copies of my own book.
Mm-hmm.
And I get it at a discount, but you're saying it costs $3 to print a book, but you're paying this other publisher, the money to, because they're paying for the printing, they're taking all the risk. They want you to just buy the book from them, and they only offer authors a limited number of books that they can get at a discount.
I
And so
do
they
know
would,
that. I do know
yes.
that.
So they
Yeah.
change. A lot of them would change and say, "Well, can you just help me, self-publish my work?" And so that's where I would, go on, follow on, and coach them through that process too.
Wow, that's phenomenal. How does a small press publisher become relevant in such a huge market?
It's all about marketing. It's about marketing. It's about networking. It's about knowing your market, and creating a niche. You know, sometimes when a publisher tries to take on so many things, like, I mean, I have nonfiction works as well as fictional works. I try to keep them somewhat separate because I have separate, audiences for those. Um, but my fiction line is very specific. I know my audience, my readers keep coming back. They keep supporting me. They get, benefits from, they get to pre-read a lot of my work. Um, and they value that role. And I'm just humbled that they keep coming back and telling me to write more. So you have to know your niche. With the homeschooling community and with my career reimagination community, I've been very blessed to just get a lot of my clients from referrals.
Mm,
And I build a newsletter. So I have a newsletter that feeds my nonfiction readers and supporters and clients. They get my blog posts every month. I don't inundate them too much, once or twice a month. And then when I have something new coming out, they'll hear more from me and they love it. And I'm shocked that they keep opening my emails. And I have oh gosh, over 10,000 subscribers to my newsletters.
wow, wow. Now, I know
And
what year did I have a question real quick. Did you have a big following in DC that followed you? They still follow you even though you live in Hawaii now? Did the following continue?
well, I had more of a following. I had seriously, I didn't even realize I had an international following. I had
Wow.
a publicist for several years, and the only reason there's an island I visited in Hawaii, in Molokai, that I was invited by the owner of the bookstore there. And I basically toured a lot of cities outside of DC. I toured cities in Chicago, Pennsylvania. I was asked to do Chicago, but I did that virtually. um, California virtually. But through IBPA, the Independent Book Publishers Association, I was able to network with a lot of other small press publishers, and we co-network. So if my books are focused on self-empowerment or focused on fiction or particular genre, I work with other small press, reputable, that I find are reputable, and we co-promote events and things like that. So it really is about finding community, and you can do that online. And social media is very helpful, but I don't, now I'm at a point where I just don't have the energy to stay on social media. So I pay someone to, put out my monthly post. Or I found that even when I don't, and I have a book launch coming out, that my old, readers will come out of oh, you're back, which is amazing, but that's years of cultivation.
Building relationships. Those relationships continued. And so when you have something coming out, they get so excited, they spread the word, correct?
Absolutely.
Because with over 10,000, that's amazing. That is such an accomplishment to have that kind of base. So, also, I really want to get to this because I was so excited when I went through your website, your company, Empowering Steps. I was so excited because I saw all the services that you provide. I'm like, wow. I was just sitting up there like, wait, I want to get some coaching myself and probably need to, hire you. But I think it's fabulous. So, talk about Empowering Steps and all the service that you provide through that company, that platform.
Well, really, the thing is, I've done a lot of career reimagination, which is my passion. It's always been a passion to help people realize that your career doesn't run you, you run your career. And that you can recreate yourself so many times through your life, and your career is supposed to service you. And so a lot of people don't see that. They get in one job, that's the only job they ever had. They lost that job, and they've decided to stay home with their kids, and the kids are grown and they have to work, or they get divorced. There's two sides of love. Um, So my focus has always been in helping people to um, make their own path. And so the career reimagination was really birthed from that. And then the education side was birthed from me wanting, having 4 kids and myself going through school, paying my way through school. I mean, I think I went to two, three different colleges in school. I was homeless for a period of time.
Mm,
Um, I I had experienced so much, but my mindset had always been on the possibilities, and that's why I like the movie Jingle Jangle, where it's possible, because that
mhm,
was something that when you get a certain mindset, you don't look at the things that are not working out your way. You look at where you're going, and that's all you
mhm.
focus on. So I wanted to be able to do that. So I had several clients that had felt that that they wanted to drop out of school. The younger ones, high schoolers, or parents were like, my child is not doing well in school. All this stemmed from my youngest son, who just told me, "Mom, you could do anything," when he was little. He probably doesn't even remember he said that. Um, but I believed him. And so that's what I did with their education. A lot of people, they were like, "How are you working and educating your child?" And I said, "Well, we focus on these things together because they're core subjects, but everything else, is driven by them and what they want and what they're passionate about. Because if you're passionate about anyone, as long as you know how to read, comprehend, do your math, and imagine, you can pretty much figure out anything, and research." And that's really what my kids did. And that was a very college mindset, but because I taught college, I taught them in that way. And so they basically did follow that. So they were my first students or clients, so to speak. And I involved them in everything. So when I met other people and they were like, "How is it that you're graduating kids from college at 17 years old? That's just impossible." Well, why is it impossible? You know, um, because you said it is, or because the system says it is. Well, as far as I'm concerned, I will figure it out. I will figure out a way around that. And we always, discourage kids from figuring out a way out of their work or figuring out a way out of things. But what would happen if you allowed them to figure their way out of things? Then they create amazing thing like Elon Musk does, right?
Yes.
Everybody told Elon he couldn't do so many things, but when you turn a no into a yes, you can create your own path. And then everybody wants to know how you did it.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's how I approach a lot of my clients, and that's how I started with the career reimagination, and then I met women that were stay-at-home moms, or men that got laid off from their career, and we would you know do a self-discovery. I would ask them questions to lead them to the answers that they already knew, and then I would give them the encouragement to try something new, something that I took for granted. It's easy for me to try something new, right? But not for everybody else. And
Yes.
once you
Mhm.
do that, it's amazing um, how they discover themselves, and they're like, they're flying. And and I don't feel like I have to keep having a person come back, because when you have money, because God blesses me with money, when you have food, God blesses you with food, when you have a roof over your head, when I have everything I need, helping other people comes so easy, because it's not a money grab. It's just, yeah, you're giving me money really so that I know you will show up and not waste my time.
Yes, it's an investment. They're investing in themselves, right? And
Absolutely.
it's something that your cousin Francis said to me. People don't pay attention to what they don't pay for. And that
Really and
is
truly. And and even with the I am opportunity, I have
mm,
people that I'll say, well, I'm giving free classes. I'm taking my own time and I'm teaching you what I've learned, and I'm doing this, I'm giving it back to you because I want to help you. Not because you're paying that money a month, or not because you're paying me for a coaching session. And then I have to say to them, are you aware that I have a job, that my job pays me well, and that I have a good savings? I've been in finance all this time. If I wanted to retire, I could retire today. Heck, I'm living in Hawaii. I'm living my dream, and working is just something that I do to get out of the house and meet people. So if you think that your money that you're spending, per month, or that you are giving to me is feeding me, you're wrong, because my God's going to feed me anyway. I'm taking
Amen.
this money to make you accountable to what you said you wanted for your life, so that if you did not follow through on what you wanted, that you have no one to blame but yourself and not me.
Ooh, yes,
So,
accountability.
and,
Mm,
and really, and the thing is, it's a hard pill for a lot of people to swallow. But when you are at a place where God's got you in your head, you're really in that headspace where that you're taken care of despite of. It's really about you helping that person to see you two are. This is for everybody, but you have to
mm,
have the bravery, and you have to want to do this enough for yourself. You will go out and you will study for 3 weeks for a certification test for a computer job, and the job will hire you and fire you in 6 months later. And you would have bust
mm,
your butt for them, but you can't bust your butt for something you want to do, for a dream you have. How
mm.
are you valuing yourself? you
Yes,
know
yes,
so these are the things that, as a coach, I enjoy having people get that aha moment of, um I can do this for myself. I'm worthy of this, of doing this, of working just as hard that I work for this person that's giving me peanuts. I can work just as hard for myself.
yes, yes. That's true. It's a paradigm shift. It's a mindset. A lot of people, they don't believe in themselves. They don't. I call it a slavery mindset. But they didn't grow up believing in themselves. But you had that from an earlier foundation of faith, and you're focusing on the future. Your mindset was never what your restrictions or your trials and tribulations were. Your mindset was always forward and focused on your dreams. And some people don't have. They don't have that, and that's what you bring to people when they're coming to you as a coach. You might be the first person in their life to even say that you can do this, believe in yourself. Some people don't have that. They don't have that their whole lives. So you as a coach, that might be the first time someone's saying that to that person. You're the first person that may even believe in that person. That's very, very powerful. Now, as a mentor, I want to ask you, mentor and your coach, can you speak in detail about the career? You already talked about career imagination, but the college radical way program and author building services you specialize in helping people. What is the college radical way program? I want you to describe that for
So
us.
college the radical way is for, high school students or middle school students that want to finish college by the time they graduate from high school, like I did with my kids. It's also for people that have gotten into a career and say, I want to go back to school, but I do not want to be a button seat student. I do not want to do a traditional school. And, I want to do it fast, and I want to do it cheap, and I need to do it around what my life looks like today. Right. And a lot of my clients come with this mindset of, you have to go to this Ivy League college to be successful, or you have to go through, a typical college. And parents will come to me and say, well, my kid has to go to a 4-year school, or my kid has to do this. And I say to them, how would your child feel? Like, for instance, my son, my 17-year-old son, he will have his college degree in information technology and a minor in marketing at 17 years old. He would have had it at 16 years old if COVID didn't happen. And I was just like, why don't you just add on a minor? Now, his mindset is, a lot of people are like, well, what about the 4-year college experience? Well, that's not an experience for everybody. When you look at the population and you look at people that have successful careers and businesses, I'd only say 10% of them actually went through a college experience, without working their way through school, without taking some school here, without doing the military first, without just falling into a career, things like that. So if you say, well, you take those people, why do you think that you need to do it the way that it's been, what the roadmap that people have told you? Radical means we're going to change your thought process. So, like for my 17-year-old, people are like, well, is he going to go right to work? Well, why should he? He already has credentials for a job. So I asked him, what exciting things would you like to do? You're going to be 17, going on 18. He was like, well, I like to, go for the Olympics and breakdancing. Absolutely. You have the degree. You don't have that holding you back. You have 4 years that would have been spent held up in the college, holding you back, where you can train for, pursue the Olympics. Well, mom, I also want to get my pilot license. That's awesome. Why can't we do that? The money we
Hmm.
save from sending you to a 4-year college, you are now able to get your pilot license. He has a student pilot license
Wow.
at 17 years old. Okay. My other daughter, I was like, oh, you want to go to college, live on campus? She was like, no, I really don't want to do that. I want to do my own creative business. So she has her own business where she does that on the side, but she works and makes really, really good money in her field while she's funding her dream. My
Just
other
like
daughter
mom.
is doing the same thing. She graduated college early, but it gave her time to say figure herself out. She lived abroad, traveled abroad for an entire summer. And after she came back, she was like, "This is great." Now she's starting her own fashion line, and she's doing that on the side of work. See, you start to think that way when you think about college radically. You don't think that you have to spend 4 years in a building to get a piece of paper. You look and say, "What's the least amount of money I can spend on it? What's the least amount of time I can spend on it? And how can I fit that in a life I really want to live right now?" That's college
Yes.
the radical way.
Yes, I love it. I love it because most people don't. College is not for everybody. First of all, and the way
No,
you're
I
doing.
disagree with that. College can
No, but
be
I
for
meant going to
everybody.
a 4-year school.
Oh
The
yeah, that way no.
education is, yeah,
That
because
way
my
no.
brother, he didn't go to a 4-year school, but he got his education the way that you're talking about. I'm the
Radical.
opposite. I went to a 4-year school. I graduated from Oral Roberts University, but I went to American University for 3 years before I went to Oral Roberts. So, and I'm a Gen Xer. My brother is younger than me, but he got his education the way you're speaking about. I have some people I know that have homeschools. Well, this is really this. I want to ask you the pandemic. Because of the pandemic, have you seen an increase in the need for your services for the parents who are homeschooling? Because of the pandemic, your coaching of parents, I know that's one of your services. Has
Yes.
that increased greatly this past year for
It
you?
has increased by leaps and bounds. And for me particularly, because even though I homeschool my kids, I am not a homeschool diehard fanatic. I see that there's a benefit in all types of education. And I feel it as a parent and someone that lives in America and has the freedom to choose. That's where your power is. You
Mm,
choose what works best for you and your family to get your kids where they need to be or want to be. For me, homeschooling gave me so much freedom, and it was a freedom of mindset because I didn't think that, oh well, I'm homeschooling them, they have to be attached to a traditional school. I wanted that control myself. I didn't want a teacher telling me what grade I was going to give my kid. I didn't want a teacher telling me what classes my kids had to take, and I didn't want my kids to have to do a traditional class. I wanted
mm,
them to invest in their learning. And so homeschooling had allowed me to do that. And coaching parents, particularly now that have that mindset of I want to send my kids, I still want them to go the traditional way. um, I teach them how to make it effective for them to still be able to work and bring home an income while they're taking on the education of their child without the barriers of what they think education is supposed to be based upon the traditional public school system or private school system.
So if that's been an increase because of the pandemic, a lot of people are being more at home. And I know here, you're in Hawaii. I know have some girlfriends who, they're single moms. They have like, oh my gosh, my kids are still home. They've been struggling. So have your business increased so greatly? Do you have parents just calling you panicking because they have the kids at home
Well,
virtual learning?
I have both. I have the book. So I wrote a
Right.
book specifically for homeschooling and working. And the funny thing is, I wrote it pre-pandemic. God really put it on my heart to write this book. And I can say it was God, because the only reason I ever homeschooled was because my youngest son told me I could. I'd never heard of homeschooling. And the reason it was radical was because I did it for him, because he needed a radical education, because he's just a different kind of kid, very unique and energetic, and just a wonderful blessing to me, whether he realizes it or not, I wonder. But he calls me to write a book. And then I created an online course as a companion to the book, as well as an online course that you could take without the book. Um, and that the online course is broken up into College the Radical Way, which is the part 4, I think, of the book. And then the part 1 is the homeschooling portion of the book. And then I have like a teaser that goes with the book that's free, to kind of evaluate your thought process with homeschooling and working. And the book also addresses being a single parent. It also speaks very frankly about how to downgrade your expectations, from what you think that school is supposed to be, to how you can fit it into your life. And that's where I think a lot of people have the challenge. So I do get calls, but I do also have the online class. So I have more people taking the online class offered through my website, as well as in the back of the book. And then a lot of people have told me that the book was a blessing to them, because they are using it as an encyclopedia through their child's entire educational journey. So that in itself is a blessing. So I get both. I get calls, I get emails. And that's why I created the online courses, because I'm in Hawaii. I work full time. I still am, supporting my own family, but I want to be able to bless other people. So I provide those means at a very reasonable rate. Under a couple of $100, because I want to make it affordable for families, particularly during now. And they can take the class on their own pace. And if they take a couple of the online classes and read the book and still want more, then they set up a one-on-one with me, and that's been very pleasant for me, I will say.
And that's all through empoweredsteps.com, right? The course is
Absolutely.
offered there, right? Okay.
Yes.
And I want to say to everybody, all of this phenomenal woman, all her websites will be under this posting, because I was going through the website saying, okay, I think I need that reimagination coaching for myself. So I'll be in contact about that. It's phenomenal, the services that you're offering. So all this will be public and everybody will know how to reach you. It's very important. Now, can you tell me about your latest business venture, becoming an investor in Forex? And you have your team in Hawaii that you train and that you lead. Can you tell me more about that latest venture?
Oh yeah. So, well, I've always done investing for my family, myself, based upon, I don't know if you've heard of the FIRE movement. Have
I
you heard
did
of the
hear about
FIRE
it.
movement?
I heard it mentioned,
Financial
but you get,
financial independence, retire early. It's about,
yes.
so I actually, built my husband and I's portfolio since a very young age, with that in mind, with the goal of retiring both of us early. But you discover things about yourself, and I did it in phases. I decided to first say, okay, well, let's do mini retirements. Okay, so let's do a 1 month vacation every year as a mini form of retirement. And we would do Florida for a month of December to January, Hawaii, a cruise, um, the Caymans, different places. My kids have been all over the world, really. So we would do that, and we did that for quite some time. And although we liked the places we stayed, we never really felt like those were places we would want to permanently retire. But we would do a mini retirement every year, and we would save for that. And I would take off from my job, whether I got paid or not. They knew for the month of December to the second week of January, Lanita was gone. And my husband would do the same thing. He was a realtor and for a while, and he would just have partners. We did that. So then with that mindset, I wanted to take it further and invest further, but it was so hard to find investment teams that let you in. Usually I'd have a friend that says, oh yeah, I have an investment team, but we already made our millions. And I'm like, well, why didn't you tell me about it? Why wouldn't you want to tell me about how you're making millions? And you're making millions, but when I'm telling you about making millions, you don't want to hear because you're already there, and yet you didn't do the courtesy to find me. So when Francis told me about the opportunity, I was just odd. I was like, I'm going to have to convince my family to do this. So what I did is I did a financial workshop with my kids. And I went through what I had tried to accomplish with the financial freedom, retire early. And they were like, wow, mom, that means that if we do this, we can start our own businesses. We can start, they saw it as an opportunity of freedom. And once I got everybody on board, then, my husband was like, okay. So then I had Francis give everybody the presentation and for the educational piece. But I love the fact that I would now have a community, that I didn't have to be somebody's friends. I mean, my friend didn't have to think that I fit into their group. I didn't have to, there were people that looked like me, people that didn't look like me, that were just open with information because they just wanted to share, and they weren't being greedy and they weren't being pushy. They were just sharing because because they felt blessed and they wanted to bless other people. Really, that's what I felt. So I started my trade team. And in the beginning, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I did know that I wanted everybody to benefit the way I do. And I learned differently as a professor. They will give you a course and tell you, hey, you got 2 weeks to learn this material because you got to teach it. And so that's always been my mindset. And so I attacked the academy as though I was attacking a new job, and I was not typical. Everybody was saying, oh, well, just study one thing, just study one strategy. But my mind didn't work that way. I love learning. I just love learning. And so I just love learning something new that I finally had access to, that even throughout college and throughout my career, when I've met people in the financial industry, or I had friends that said that they were in stock teams or whatever, I'd never had access to. So for me, I would learn a new strategy. I would try it. I would test it. And then my whole thing, because, I got that servant nature, was to find something that worked for my new people, so that I knew that they were not going to be me, but I wanted to find something that I could introduce to them and get them, started on something as fast as possible, and we could all do it together. And, that's what I was really searching for. And I was able to find that. And now, with my team, I take very good care of them because I'm so happy that they're with me. And I give them my own 90. I mean, I know we as a team give them 90-day boot camp, but I give them my own 90-day boot camp based upon the best educators that I felt, gave me the tools that if I just had those tools, I could do fine. And I can say I'm so proud of my team right now. And again, like I said, they do pay for the education, but to them, they're like, this is nothing for what I'm receiving, because they want to be there. They're not somebody that I just convinced that they were going to get money fast. These are people that really want to learn the skill. And I'm really picky about who I bring to my team, because I want to bring people to my team that want to better themselves and want all of this love that everybody that they're coming in contact with this community is giving on them, and invested in themselves so that they can do this for somebody else. My whole thing is, I'm doing this for you because I want you, that when you bring people on board, I want you to give them the same love and attention.
Yes.
right?
And really, you know what? This is why in 2021 I'm building differently than I did in 2020. Because in 2020 I had a lot of people come and go. They weren't trying to learn anything. They weren't trying to invest. They didn't have the thirst for the knowledge, and which is power. And now, it might be building slower, but I'm building quality people who want to learn. And that's the big difference for me this year. Because I know we both have had people come and go from our teams. You know what? But that's okay, because you weren't meant to stay on this journey with me, because you didn't have the same thirst. You have to have a hunger, to invest in yourself, and you want to learn something. I've always been a person always reading in books, and I love learning too. And so you have to really want to learn this skill set. You just can't be, playing with this. And some people just like, they don't pay attention. They don't want to get into the academy. They don't want to go to classes. You have to study. You have to study to learn this, and you have to have the knowledge. And so
You
you have to have the mindset that you want to
exactly.
invest in yourself. And so this year is totally different than my last year. As far as, people, like you said, you're picky. Well, who's on your team? You're looking for a certain person that's thirsty. You want them to be thirsty and hungry. You
Well,
want to be able
because you
to
got to
train them.
understand, for me, it's not, like they say, well, you have the benefit of being paid, being paid on the building side, which is awesome. I think that was
For
a
me, it's the
wonderful
skill
idea.
set. The skill
But
set is
my
so
thing is
important.
this: it's important, but the thing is that money's going to your learning and your education. It's not going to me personally.
Right.
Anything that I invest in you is coming from my heart, my soul, my work, and my tears. And I want you to be willing to work as hard as to get it, right? And to be somebody in 5 years, I can call friend and I can call partner, not just in this business, but in businesses where if I want to say,
Thank
hey, I
you.
want to start a nonprofit fund to go help girls that are coming out of the sex traffic trade, or I want to do big things. I mean, I want to do world changer things. I'm cultivating people that want a mindset to free themselves so that they can start
Yes.
to be involved in world changing
R-
things
Yes.
outside of just the money grab. Okay.
Right.
So the thing
Right.
is, when you invest and you build a team of people with that mindset, you can do some wonderful things for the world. You can do
Yes.
Akon level things for the world, right? Because you
Mm-hmm.
can say, hey, let's build something that's for people that are disadvantaged, to give them a better choice, a better life, or to, turn them around, their
Yes.
insides around. We can do powerful things like that, but you can't do that with people that are just interested in a money grab.
That. Thank you. You know what my nickname is. Remember when we had the girlfriend chat a couple months ago? Don't
Yes.
make me go there. Don't make me go there, please. Because I know that we got this 7 o'clock class we trying to, because I'll go there. You started to preach, Pastor
I know.
Preston.
I'm
But
sorry. I
no,
do
no,
it. I
no.
do
But
it. It
I
just come
appreciate
out
that,
of me,
because
right?
if I had a mic, let me just drop the pen instead. Okay. Because you said it. That's the truth. And that's an amen for me. That is the truth. You said, I can't say it no better. Preach. But anyway, now I got a few more questions for you before I let you go. What would be your message to any aspiring authors, entrepreneurs? You have so many hats that you wear. It's entrepreneur, author, working parents, or even people seeking assistance with homeschooling. You have people that they want to do their purpose, but they're still scared to step out of their comfort zone. Your comfort zone can be your broke zone, by the way. What would you say to some people, whether they want to be an author, they're reimagining their lives because of COVID? A lot of people have to reimagine their whole future because of the pandemic, which is still with us. What would
Hmm.
be your message of hope or aspiration to those people? Because you've done it, you've done so many things, accomplished so many things, and you're still even accomplishing them now. What would be your message to those people?
Everything you want to experience is about taking the step of faith. It's not about the end. It's not about what anyone perceives as success. It's about the experience through trying to do something that you're passionate about, that you want to, whether you win, lose, or fail. Most people that are uber successful have failed time and time again. Do you know how many businesses I've started and closed? And every last one of them, I learned something so valuable, and no one can take that experience away from me, because that's the experience I'm using to help other people, right?
Yes,
So don't
yes,
be the experience itself is worth it.
And you know what I wanted to ask you? The college radical way, right? You probably helped a lot of kids and parents with that, that reimagining college, finishing college at an early age. It's not a building. It's not a building. It's not about just the 4 years. Has that fit in with your investment focused business? Like, I know are your kids also trading and investing, and other parents' kids, are they
Yes.
also involved?
Well, let's be honest. Some of my kids have come and gone, but they have it in the back of their mindset. They know it's there. For them, it'll be easier than me because they're all very technical. But my 17-year-old trades because he's had, with COVID, closing off some of the opportunities for him. We've had to have conversations of there's other ways for you to make money. And so that's why he's doing, he's creating his own clothing line through IAM's drop shipping business idea. He's also doing trading, and he's making consistent money every week for trading. That's his allowance money. And and he's consistent at it. My daughter-in-law now is doing it, as she started her career as a teacher, and she was like, "This is so not me." And I said, "That's all right. You're going to be the next Kim Torres." Uh, I'm grooming the next Kim Torres from Hawaii. Mark my words.
All
Um,
right.
so um so they're starting to see it as an opportunity to freedom to do a lot of things. My oldest son is still revisiting it because he's thinking about starting his own ministry and funding the ministry through this without having to depend on people tithes and offering. So it's, when you expose your kids to these things, they know now that there's a way for them to create their own possibilities, and money
Yes.
doesn't, and have the seed money to do that. And I'm like, okay, well, all my books, and I told my nephew, I said, all my books, I wrote screenplays for them that at one time I was trying to sell, and I got interest, but then I was like, oh, I don't want anybody to take my work and change my work. But I told my nephew, I'm saving these screenplays so that when you have become a great producer, I will be able to fund you doing my books and movies the
Yes.
right way, right? No
Yes.
boundaries.
Yes, that's it. Because you know what? You have such great vision, but that's because you've always focused on the future and your dreams, and you never focused on what your trials and tribulations were. You've always had that focus most of your life since childhood, correct? So
Correct.
your mindset has always been that. That's why you have created all this success. And you know, I'm happy to call you business partner because we're on the same team. You're the Hawaii branch, I'm the Maryland branch, but also just a phenomenal woman. I mean, and really want you to, I want to list, you have so many websites. You have Ellen Preston, you have your publishing company, you have your empowering steps. I'm even going to list. I didn't know. I want you to talk to people how they can reach you, but I want people to know that your websites, how they can reach you for your services, your coaching, purchasing your books. Especially, I really believe, especially here, a lot of parents need that class. Okay, because they're still
Well,
going to be doing the
well,
virtual learning.
yeah, and
Their class for homeschooling.
I also wrote empower building your empowered steps from the standpoint of how how Ellen Preston's mind works, and how you can get your mind to work like hers. And I address it as short and sweet. And I always say to everybody, start there. Someone told me I needed to write that book. Someone said you need to write a book about how you think. How are you able to stay so positive? And I never planned on writing a new nonfiction book, and that was the first nonfiction book I wrote. And I've had so many people tell me it changed their lives.
Yes.
And it really, I didn't realize that my mindset had always been positioned that way. And that's why I wanted to share that. So that's a book that you don't have to be a homeschooling. You just could be somebody that just needs a little push and a
Yes.
change of perspective, and an idea of how you change someone's no's to yes, and how you learn to take the no, and how you learn to recover from situations that may not be pleasant for you and make those your victory, because we serve an awesome God that takes us
Yes.
through life and gives us those failures and turns those failures into success and teaching lessons to share with other people. So that's pretty much, what you can get from the website, empoweredsteps.com. You can get the nonfiction self-help book, Building Your Empowered Steps. You can also take the courses on career reimagination, and I'm also going to do a companion course to building your empowered steps soon. So
Oh, that's great. And
that's,
Ellen Preston, we're going to have to list that Ellen Preston. We want them to get
yes, the
those
fiction
fabulous.
books.
Yes, she has so many that you've written. So all of your websites will be listed. I'm going to update the posting so they have all of your websites, know how to reach out to you. Because to me, especially your Empowering Steps, that's a phenomenal services that you're offering. And I mean, and I want to make sure I get the book myself. And reimagining, I need that right now because I've gone through some career changes of this past year myself, and just reimagining. And so if we get to be a Gen Xer, you have to really, step back. And sometimes there's some other chapters God wants to open in your life, And so the coaching that you're providing, I think is just phenomenal. Your service is a phenomenal woman. Just,
Thank
so much
you.
I learned about you within the last 2 weeks. And I went through that. I said, okay, I got some books I need to buy. So I'll be on there purchasing some stuff, honey, and probably need a coaching service, But I'm going to make sure I get the book to myself because I think it's just phenomenal the things that you're offering, the things that you're doing to empower people and give back to your community. And I know that you're busy. I mean, you have so many things you're doing to help others and servicing others. I just want to say thank you for your service because a lot of people don't think about other people. They think about themselves. And one thing that I've learned you to be is a selfless person. So thank you for your service because you're making a big difference. I think people just would never know all the stuff about you who are just in the I Am Academy. Like this woman, y'all need to look at her life. It's phenomenal. And I know it's just the beginning. I can't wait for the movies to come out and that nephew to produce. I'll be right there for look. The pandemic over or not. If it hits HBO Max, if it's pandemic or not, I'll be the first one looking at it. Because I know that there's no sky limit for you because the way you envision and your paradigm shift and your mindset, it's really empowering. And if you can, and people need to get your book so they can see how does this woman think? Because people need to think like this. There is no limit for you, and that's very powerful. I want to thank you for your time because I know you're busy. I know you're busy. I know you are because you have so much that you're doing to help other people, clients. And I saw your calendar. You showed it to me before we started. It's packed. So I appreciate your hour.
And the people on my team, they do, they get me for an hour every Saturday because I do a team study group for
Yes.
them
On
every
top of
Saturday.
everything else, on top of all the coaching, the writing, working on a second sequel to the other book. I mean, it's just amazing. So I want to thank you for your time. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And this will be, give me a couple minutes. Her websites will be listed, all three of them that I have. And then also next week, we'll have Roger Hill back with us. He's the CEO of Fox Legacy. We're talking
Wow.
about health from the cellular level. A lot of people work out, right? They take some vitamins, but we got to work on the cellular level health. So he's back. He was here in October with me. He's coming back because we have a lot of things we need to work on to build our immune systems. That's what we're going to talk about next week.
Yes.
So Miss Preston, Pastor Preston is my nickname for you. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you for being with me. I just really appreciate all that you do. And I think you're a phenomenal woman, phenomenal leader. And just thank you for your service and your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it so much. Of course, from one phenomenal woman to another, Nessa.
Yes, well, our birthdays are just a couple months away. Hey, May, I always say the best people in the world were born on May 19th, right? Hey.
Hey, Grace Jones was too.
Malcolm X was as well. Did you know that?
Awesome. No,
Yes.
didn't.
Oh, yeah. Malcolm X. Yes, honey. I could name a few civil rights leaders who were born on our birthday. Hey, leading the way. Don't hate. Don't hate. But so I'll see y'all next week. Thank you, Miss Preston. I know you got a class and another meeting to get to. So I appreciate your time and take care. Talk to you soon.
All righty. Bye-bye.